Dear colleagues, welcome. Thanks for coming. And thanks those who follow us online. And we are starting our working day. Our first briefing is about the presentation of the Ukrainian Institute of Memory. They present their site of Ukrainian Second World War. And our speakers are Volydymyr Viatrovych, head of the Ukrainian Institute of National Memory, Maksym Mayorov from the Ukrainian Institute of Memory, Bogdan Zavitiy, the Ukrainian Institute of Memory, and Igor Bigun. And we're starting with Bogdan Zavitiy. Thank you very much. We are presenting two projects dedicated to the Second World War, but we're starting with this site. Why site? But first of all, why do we need to remember those who died during the Second World War, and why we're doing it that way? The memories of the Second World War presented as the Great Motherland War and all the myths and stereotypes related to this, to that were the cornerstone of the Soviet identity, and they survived the collapse of the Soviet Union. And now we are witnessing the Russian propaganda exploiting the myths and stereotypes related to the Second World War, as they call it, Great Motherland War, and they use that against Ukraine. And the symbols, the symbol of the Russian troops, and in particular imperial troops, the St. George band has become the symbol of the terrorists in Luhansk and Donetsk regions. And we need to rethink the attitude to think about and introduce the new practices and the new traditions. And it is more than just academic community interest. It is relevant for the whole society. That is why back in 2014 we suggested the new symbol commemorating all the victims of the Second World War, and it's the red poppy. This flower has more than one meaning. It is related to the commemorate of the heroes in the Europe, and it is related to Ukrainian folklore. And we have changed the attitude to this day. We're not talking about celebration, we're talking about commemoration. And when we're talking about this war, we're talking about tragedy. And especially Ukrainians who were deprived of their own state were forced to kill each other to help others pursue their interests. And nowadays, everything, the changes in the attitudes towards this day is supported by the legal framework. First of all, the presidential decree, and secondly, by the law of Ukraine on commemoration of the victory in the Second World War. And that enabled us to get rid of this Soviet propaganda and get rid of this stereotype of the Great Motherland War, and we introduced also the idea of the commemoration and making peace. And this year, this day coincides with the Remembrance Day which is important for Ukrainian, because Ukrainians commemorating their deceased family and dears and nears, and it also coincides with the Mother's Day, which is also important. And thus this new approach and this new day is implemented and has become the part of our everyday life. We would like to show you the video which we've done, which we shoot for the commemoration days. So here you are.
8 травня відзначається День пам'яті та примирення.
Червоний
The 8th of May is the day of commemoration and making peace. The poppy is the symbol. It is easy to make, it is easy to wear. To do that, you will need just three pieces of the red cloth and one piece of black cloth. You will also need the butterfly lunch. You can buy it everywhere, so you can do it like this. We remember, we win. We're sure that exactly like the last year, even more people will wear this poppy to commemorate those who died during the Second World War. As I mentioned, this day coincides with the Mother's Days. That is why we all decided that this day will be dedicated to the role of women during the Second World War. It is important. The women's viewpoint is important, and it's probably the best way to destroy the Soviet propaganda. And the floor is given to Dr. Gromenko. She is one of the developers of this concept, and she will tell us which stories we're going to tell, which female stories we're going to present. This year main topic is the women's stories of the Second World War. We at the Ukrainian Institute of National Memory started the educational project, public education project. It is called There is no exceptions during war, women's stories of the Second World War. Why we decided on this topic for this year? First of all, we would like to address this topic because women were out of the official discourse for long. During the Soviet period, women were just an addition to the male history. And the Nobel Prize winner, who we all know, Svetlana Alexievich, mentioned many times about that. In particular, her book, The War Doesn't Have a Female Face, she collected the stories of women. It was published in 80s, although with lacunes. However, it was very much different from the official story of the history of the Soviet Union. The war was depicted as the common effort of this common people. But her book shows us different war, different story, and help us understand different dimension of the war. Women had the right of choice to a certain extent. They may they may join the army or may not join the army, and that was so we offer the stories of 12 women, very different ones. Some of them were joined the army, some of them became the heroes of the Soviet Union. Some other women fought for Ukrainian independence at the part of the Ukrainian insurgent army, such as Maria Bubinchuk, and also Jewish women who were surviving, and Ukrainian women who saved Jewish children and Jewish neighbors in the occupied territories, and other women, just women who were waiting for their children to be back from the war. We believe it is a heroic deed as well. Today we're watching closely at this story, and our women are trying similar roles nowadays. Our women are of different age, of different fates, different war fates, different after-war fates. However, their diversity proves that the war is a tragedy. It's an awful thing. People try to survive, and people try to take care of those who are near. And we believe that due to such stories, due to such projects, Ukraine will be able to drop the Russian discourse and the picture of the war shown by the propaganda. One of our slogans is we return the history to people, we return the history of people. And those stories of women who were through the Second World War is the result, the illustration of how we see the war and how we deal with the history through this history, stories of real people. That's how we handle the famine, the Volodymyr story of 1932-33, about the servicemen, military men who were fighting in different national armies, and that is what we are doing. The women stories are the part of our project, the site on the Second World War. It is useful for everybody, especially for the teachers of history, because it contains videos, maps, bios, and many other information. And I would like to give a floor to Bogdan Zavitiy, who was one of the authors, and then Maksym Mayorov will talk about that. The mere idea to start the Ukrainian site on the Second World War appeared after the last year of the commemorations days of the last year, the 70th anniversary. So we could to accumulate a lot of materials, videos, texts, and the materials needed to be classified and to be presented in the user-friendly form. Because our task is to give truth to people, and we decided that the most convenient instrument to do that is to do the website, the separate website for these materials, and the name of the site is Ukrainian Second World War. So we developed this site. This site can be, it is adopted for different tablets, smartphones, and computers. So we showed you the main menu, the desktop picture. We can also show you the gadgets interface. However, we decided on that. And we will show you, it's the initial one, the preliminary one, but today we will show you how it looks in reality and how it looks now, the final version of it. And now please show the menu. And my colleague Maksym Mayorov. So here it is in the bottom. So let's work with this and we'll show you how it works. So, Maksym. So I would like to start with telling you the introduction. This introduction is from Dovzhenko's movie, Battle for Ukraine, and except for the main menu, there is an you can have a look at Mac memory through the root menu. So here is the key menu, the main menu. So here it is in between, in the middle. It's in the middle. So we decided to put this information in front, and this section is about this poppy, the poppy of memory as the new symbol of the new symbol of the commemoration of the Second World War, 8th, 9th of May, and this section also covers the information about how to make this poppy that what Maria Burmaka showed in video. So we would like to ask everybody to either to make such poppies yourselves or buy and wear those commemoration signs. And let's go back to the main memories. The main menu has the main sections, mostly presentation of the materials developed by the Institute of the National Memory since 2015. So it contains texts, maps, and infographics. Let's start with infographics. Here you can see different materials prepared by Institute of National Memory together with Crisis Media Center, and that shows the facts and data about Ukrainian Second World War. Why have we decided on infographics? Because it's the new, very up-to-date, cutting-edge approach to present the information, and this presentation is young users friendly, and it can arouse interest, and it can help and trigger the further search and further search for information and getting acquainted with the information presented on this site. Thank you. Back to the main menu, please. We also prepared the section on key events. Key events are classified according to the years, since 1939 through 1945. So the pictures were taken at random. However, let's have a look at each year. For example, 1939, it contains the list of the key events of the Second World War on the territory of Ukraine and related to Ukrainian participation in the Second World War. Of course, it is not complete. However, those are the key events which can be a good starting point for further research. And those are the dates when really important events happened, and they're related to what happened at those dates.
Рубрика «Постаті».
Individuals or people section.
Сьогодні в Українського інституту національної пам'яті до висвітлення певних історичних тем є, власне, підхід біографічний,
biographic approach. We try to show the history of the world war through the story of different individuals. We try to show this spirit of that age. And we try to show, to tell the story of the history of the Second World War through the biographies of ordinary people, not only through the biographies of some outstanding personalities, but ordinary people who survived or participated in the Second World War. So far we have 15 individuals listed there, mostly military men, those who participated in the military armed groups, but we will continue with the bias of women in particular. We will upload them soon. We also prepared the library, the list of the editions, and it contains the different publications, both online and offline. Those publications are by Ukrainian Institute of National Memory,
написані істориками без, власне, тобто не пов'язані з українським
other books authored by different historians, but I'm sorry, we have decided to upload the either publications by the historians working with the Ukrainian Institute of Memories or in close collaboration. Yes, we have both we have the books authored both by our historians and those who collaborate with us, and the exhibition, our last section, it's probably the most wide-scale events. It was one of the most wide-scale event last year. It was the exhibition of the Ukrainian Second World War. We have quite a number of the big meter by 2 meters stands for the pictures, and now we are doing these shows in different cities of Ukraine. We are showing those pictures in Lviv. We showed these pictures in Lviv, in Konotop, and some other cities. However, we understand that if we're just showing it offline and bringing it to different places is not enough. So that is why we uploaded the pictures of those stands, and it's the carbon copy of the real-life stands, which we show in different cities of Ukraine, which we bring to different places in Ukraine. And we don't know, we are not against preparing such the copies of such stands if it is needed in schools or for any other aims. So here is the how it looks if we look closer. So we developed this project, this show project, and we would like to make it, to digitalize it and put it online to meet the current requirements to online. So, in particular, we have the maps specially prepared for this exhibition, and here is, so we can go through the main menu. So the maps are in the sections maps, and here are the maps which we're using in our exhibition. You can download them and use it when teaching kids. So let's have a look at the map. It's a very interesting map. It shows the beginning of the Second World War, the Soviet and German invasion of Poland. These maps are of high quality. You can just print it out and use it for delivery of the course. Thank you. And we would also like to show you a video, section video. It has several videos which we developed together with our partners. Some small technical problems. However, it's we are now using the gadget versions. However, and it has some playlists and galleries. So here you are. It's those are videos developed last year mostly. They have. They're classified according to the different topics. They illustrate the numbers, the life stories of different Ukrainian people who joined different armies. And let's have a look at the first video. And this video is devoted to Ahmed Sultan, who is the Crimean Tatar, an outstanding pilot. He did more than 600 flights, and he was one of the first to use the Terrans, and he was fighting against, he was the hero, and as a hero he went back home to Alupka and witnessed the deportation of Crimean Tatars. Until the end of his days, he fought for the right of Crimean Tatars to come back home. He died when he was testing the new plane. And I would like to sum up my presentation by giving the address www.memory.gov.ua, very similar to the address of Ukrainian Institute of National Memory. Instead of the third W, it has two. Please visit our site and use the materials whenever it is necessary. Thank you for presentation of the site. As you can see, the site is for the new, for generation, younger generations. It can be used even as the manual for the lessons of history. However, we understand that we have our main problem is not with the younger generation, but with the older one, those who have never ever studied Ukrainian history. And for the grown-ups, we are using all the instruments for disseminating the information. In particular, we published the book which are destroying the Soviet propaganda myths. We published it late last year, and I would like to give a floor to Sergiy Gromenko, one of the authors. I would like to mention that the site contains the section texts. Here it is, and it has a very concise version of the books. It's sort of the preview in order to give the brief information, to get our readers acquainted with the most widespread myths and answer the questions related to those myths. And we do that in order to promote our book. And I would like to also let you know that this site is not finalized. It is going to be, the information is going to be added up and complemented. As soon as we get new information, we will upload it, and we will work to develop this site. And as to the book, I was one of the authors, and I also participated in administration of publishing. What I can say, we were very thorough and attentive to the details. We used to have 70 through 100 myths, however, we had to cut that down because of the technical requirements, and so far it contains 50 myths, and those are the quintessential Soviet, Russian, and unfortunately sometimes Ukrainian propaganda. So we were discussing a lot. We were discussing Russian and Soviet propaganda a lot. However, Ukrainians are also developing their myths, but in order to help clearly understand what happened during the Second World War, we authored this book, and it is more than just an easy reading. It contains the 50 main archetypes, myths, and for the Soviets, for the Russians, the war is not over, and the historic myths are the same weapon as armaments. And as long as Ukrainians have no such weapon of their own, they are going to be defeated. To prevent the defeat, we prepared such a book. We collected the group of the team of the authors who are the best, and we hope this book will help everyone, especially journalists, cover the events of the war. They are going to write a lot about the war during those days, and I would like to invite all of you to bookstore here in Lysenko Street. We are going to present tonight this book, and we will present the myths. Thank you very much, Sergiy. And tonight's presentation of the book is one of the many events organized by the Ukrainian Institute of the National Memory. The other event is the exhibition of the Ukrainian World War. It is going to be in Khreshchatyk, and you can get acquainted, and we will also show it in the International Boryspil Airport on the 7th of May to help all the guests of Ukraine to get acquainted with the history of Ukraine, in particular Ukrainian history of the Second World War. And on the 7th we are opening the new show, which is dedicated to the women's stories of the Second World War. We're doing it together with the Ukrinform, a news agency, together with Ukrinform, and the presentation will be in the large windows in Bogdana Khmelnytskого Street. And the next is the action which we're going to have on the day. Exactly, it's a small concert and the presidential address, and it will happen exactly at the same hour when the capitulation agreement was signed back in 1949. And thank you very much. I would like to say thank you to the Ukrainian Crisis Media Center for giving us a chance to present our developments and our collaboration. And please use our site. You will have the menus and we would be happy to use the content. And so we are having a couple of minutes, so if you have questions, please introduce yourself and tell who you're asking. Olga Sheremet, Radio Era. To anyone, so you mentioned myths. Which myths are the most widespread on your opinion, and please tell us about the St. George band, because many people doubt something that it's the sign of heroes since the Tsarist times. Please tell us. Well, thank you. You know, this St. George band as today's symbol appeared very late back in 2005 as the marketing action as the commemoration of the victory in the Great Motherland War, and it was sort of the answer to the orange bands and orange color of the Ukrainian Revolution of 2004. If we're talking about the band itself, then it is the element of the decoration. Only those who were decorated had the right to wear this band. All the rest were forbidden from wearing those band. And it's interesting to mention that collaborants of the Second World War was wearing this band, and in particular Mannerheim, General Mannerheim wore this, and Vlasov wore this band, and it was not this band was forbidden during the Soviet Union, but later on the Guard band was developed. It was a little bit different. However, it was taken away from the public discourse and from out of the focus of the public attention for a long time. Then it returned back to the public opinion area, and it was used everywhere. Even dogs were decorated with this band, and since spring 2014 it has became the marker of the danger, because the bands was wearing this band, and it was the marker of the enemy. And so if you are an officer or a soldier of the Tsarist army who are decorated, then it's fine, but if not, please don't wear it. And the other stereotype, or the most widespread stereotype, is the beginning of the war on the 22nd of June 1941. However, it is wrong. The war started with the Polish invasion by Germany and by the Soviet Union, and the Soviet Union, one of the key players which triggered the Second World War. It's one of the most important myths which Russia is deathly afraid of destroying. They officially start, so to say, the war 2 years later in 1941. For 2 years earlier, the Soviet Union was the alliance of the Germany. Alexander Krivenko, I have a question. We all have this poppy with a black middle. The other myth is that it is a European or global sign. However, I researched it and found out that this slogan, "Never Again," was started when Holocaust victims were commemorated. So let's separate between the picture, and this logo in the form of poppy has been used as the sign to commemorate the victims of the wars in First World War in the Western world. Approximately more than 10 countries which are using this sign. Then this sign was used for commemorating of the Second World War, and the main accent is on this First World War, as we're talking about the slogan, Never Again. It is really related to the Holocaust. However, we are using it, it is not forever. Never Again is the slogan. Was in 2014 the slogan was Never Again, and it is related to Holocaust. However, for 2 years we're using We Remember, We Win. My second question is about the regulations of the commemoration days and about the punishment for the symbols and the liability for the so-called St. George street wearing. Unfortunately, it was started, however, not finished. So my second question is whether you, as the Institute of the National Memory, plan to introduce some legislation on having the commemoration done on the 8th of May. So we can we can develop the draft of the legislation. So we developed the draft of the legislation on decommunization, and one of them is the commemoration of the Second World War. In particular, the law on commemoration of the victory in the Second World War, and it replaced the law of Ukraine on commemoration of the victory in the Motherland War. So the Motherland War was just a translation of the Russian law, and it was just the matter of fixing the and freezing the stereotypes and approaches of Russia. However, due to our legislation introduces the practices of commemorating and remembrance and making peace with and this legislation is aimed at that, and we also developed we also took another legislative initiative to systematize all Ukrainian holidays, and this new legislation we offer to move the focus of all these commemoration days from the 9th of May to the 8th of May. We are moving towards Europe, and we believe that we should share the European practice of commemoration on the 8th of May. Do you have any more questions? No? If not, thank you very much. We're finishing our briefing. See you.